Functional leg length inequalities could cause pain, dysfunction, and a disturbance in normal biomechanics. They could also be holding back your vertical jump gains. If you don't want to see a chiropractor or you don't have access to one, you can perform this muscle energy technique series before training or competition. The first movement is a pelvis repositioning exercise. You're going to pull with one hand and press with the other while resisting with the legs. Hold in each spot for 5 seconds. Perform 3 reps on each side. Then you're going to go into a lying stability ball adduction to work the groin. Hold it for 5 seconds, squeezing as hard as you can. Perform 3 reps. You might feel a click or a pop in the front of the hip. If you don't, this is totally fine. Then you're going to work the opposite, which is the outside of the hip or the gluteus medius. Pull the band apart for 5 seconds as far as you can. Rest for a couple seconds between each rep. You should feel an activation in the outside of the hip. Then you're going to go into a glute bridge to work the gluteus maximus as well as the medius. Pull the band apart at the top, hold for 5 seconds. Then you're going to go back into working the groin with a kneeling stability ball squeeze. Squeeze as hard as you can for 5 seconds. You should be in a straight line from the knee, hip, shoulder. If the hips are back a little bit, that's fine. Then you go into X-band walks to go back to the outside of the hip. You're going to take 5 steps in one direction and 5 steps the other way. Take fairly big steps. Try not to move at the torso. This is a pretty light band for me. The purpose is to activate the outside of the hip, not necessarily fatigue it. So as you see, we're working to reposition the pelvis, then we're working to activate the groin and activate the outside of the hip, which are going to help with holding that repositioned pelvis in place. The gluteus maximus also helps as well, which we covered in the glute bridge, and we'll cover again at the end of this series. Then we go back into pelvis repositioning, pulling with one hand, pressing with the other, resisting with the legs. Do 5-second holds in each spot, 3 reps on each leg. Try to breathe normally, breathing in your belly, not holding your breath. The tension should be just in the back of the hip and the front of the hip. If the legs start to cramp, you can set them down and reset. The last movement is a standing glute squeeze. Put your hands on each glute, feeling them activate. Push through your big toes and breathe into your belly the whole time. You should be squeezing your glutes as hard as you possibly can. This series is going to normalize your pelvis and should be used before training. Although I am not a chiropractor, so if you have a serious problem, go see one.